So, Mark, did you see that perfect meme that describes Vegas exactly how it goes? The way you look when you arrive versus the way you look when you leave. Perfection.
Yes, like everybody that lives there just looks beat up all the time, I guess. But, but no, this is like to a T. If you go in the airport, all the departure gates, this is what it looks like. People have passed out. It doesn't matter if they're up 5,000, down 10,000. The look is exactly the same. This one hit home pretty hard. Everybody leaves Matthew McConaughey, Dallas Buyers Club style.
So people may leave disheveled, but while they're here, they have a lot of fun, and including doing flash mobs, Elvis flash mobs at the Westgate. We know Elvis has a huge history at the property, the old International Las Vegas Hilton, and a bunch of people decided to join in on the fun. This looked like your crowd of people.
Yeah, I didn't know flash mobs were still a thing. I thought they died in like 2016, but this was kind of cool. And, we talk about the property and how they are doing all these things with the suites and everything to bring people in. It's a little bit of a forgotten one just off the strip. So it's cool to see them keep leaning into things and doing something a bit different, a bit unique. And this looks like it was a lot of fun.
What was the average age, you think, of the person doing the Elvis flash mob?
45 to 55 would be my guess. What do you think?
So we're almost there. We're almost old enough.
We can bring the age down a little bit, bring the gap down.
So the big story is obviously the Las Vegas GP, the F1 race coming. And, we've tried to avoid a lot of the stories. The construction hasn't been as bad this year, but it's still pretty bad. Some stories coming out this week that demand is pretty low. Vegas Insider sent me an article of theirs where they did some of the data showing that room rates 76% lower for the race this year versus last year. There was an article in the Review Journal sort of, confirming the same thing from officials, saying that demand isn't as high this year, but it's still going to have a huge economic impact. Shout out to Jeremy Aguero, who says billions of dollars of impact for everything. So yeah, I don't know, but rates are down.
Yeah, I would expect them to be down, but I wouldn't expect, Airbnb was down over 100%. So we're talking half price compared to the first year. You expect a dip. Usually when something goes off the first time, people are excited. Early adopters are willing to pay because you can only be there for the first time once. So you do see the dip in the second year, but I wouldn't expect 100%, 75% lower rates on the rooms and everything. It's crazy, especially with them knowing what the pain points were last year and trying to lean in to get those other rooms filled at the lower end properties. So I guess that's not working out all that well. And it's still a weekend. You think the rates would still stay fairly high. But I noticed this when I booked it. My comps and everything were through the roof compared to basically like every other weekend, which kind of blew my mind. And it's, maybe this is the end of things going towards year 3.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem good. They still say they expect 100,000 people to be there. I know the race is not sold out, although they say that they expect all the tickets to sell and demand is sort of last minute high, but it doesn't seem, if you read between the lines, that this is good news in what they were expecting. They also say that they've learned some lessons. The bridge on Flamingo, only 2 lanes instead of 4. We still see a mess over there. So I just expect we're going to come out of this weekend with still a lot of people not happy.
Yeah, and the bridges, what they did this year instead of the tape, because people were ripping it off last year, it feels like you're walking down an industrial hallway now. Just doesn't feel like the strip at all. And I feel bad for people that came in the last week or so that weren't planning on not being able to see the sphere from certain, viewpoints and just being kind of blocked off from everything. Finish these. You could put like the lower level down maybe and finish the top a day before the race or a couple days out instead of, shortchanging all these people for weeks. I don't know. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, we saw this last year where they didn't prioritize stuff. This should be prioritized to be the last thing. And as you say, it narrows the bridges too, and they don't want anybody looking through like last year. So it does look terrible. There was a lot of videos, a lot of people complaining, and it does affect the experience for people visiting, not just for the race, but weeks before. And it does seem like they could put these up in a day. So why not just do it right before? Again, hard to blame them for this because they do this in every other city that they have races like this. So it's not just specific to Las Vegas.
Yeah, but you think you'd have it fine tuned then? Like, don't screw everybody that's in the city that's hosting you. Like, wait until the last minute. Bring a whole bunch of people out there to do it quickly, efficiently. You should have it down by now since you've done these things before. I don't know. It seems like they really don't care about anything but the Grand Prix, and they don't care about anybody visiting the city. And that's partly on, the Las Vegas council not enforcing this a bit or pressing them for it. Grand Prix kind of just does what they want, and F1's like, hey, screw you guys. I don't, we're here for the race. We bring you money. You got to take it.
Moral of the story, don't visit Las Vegas about a month before the race, a couple weeks after. I think you got to avoid it during the race while it's going on, because you're not going to get the Vegas experience. You're going to deal with hassles, and there's just no way to avoid it. So if you don't want to deal with blocked off bridges, just don't come.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Like, does one weekend make up for, you're screwing everybody out of like 4 more weeks? I can't imagine that the money averages out. They have to see a dip before and after the race for a little bit, especially this year with people knowing how bad it was. Maybe last year they booked it without realizing it and focused on not coming at that time this year. So I have to imagine it all kind of evens out over time.
So let's move on to the strike. We've been talking about the culinary union and possible strikes for years, and one by one, they made deals with a bunch of the properties around town. And then there was one Virgin, and then there's been threats of a strike. Well, the strike started in the last couple days. It's a little weird coming out of there because not everybody went on strike. Some people crossed the picket lines. Apparently, union members from other hotels are coming in to clean. There's been some nastiness with flyers, basically from the union saying, don't let scabs clean your room, and bad back and forth here. But the moral of the story, Virgin continues to say the union is not negotiating in good faith. They can't afford the deal that the union is asking for. And so we have this standstill.
Yeah, Virgin came out strong with that. The letter that they posted where they had 300 some people knocking on their door the first 2 days each day, applying for a job, and saying that everybody else that agreed to these terms had to cut a third of the staff, which I don't know if it's true, but if that's the case, maybe that's why some of the other union workers are crossing the line, because they got this contract in place at their property and then they were laid off. So they're like, hey, screw it. I'm going to go through. But yeah, it's not a great look for anybody staying there. Probably doesn't want to deal with this hassle and deal with people, shouting out front or anything like that, making them feel bad for going in. But also, like, what do you do here? It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not a good look there. This property continues to struggle, and it doesn't need this sort of attention, but it does seem like it's not, fully supported by everybody. And what's the resolution here, I guess, is the big question, if the union's not willing to back down, because the hotel has clearly said, we have no more negotiation. We put our best deal on the table. So you kind of feel for him in that way. There was an unrelated tweet this week from Las Vegas locally too, saying Virgin hosts have been said to comp away. So maybe they're trying to get big high rollers, but it's hard to do that when you got people out on the picket line. And obviously the vibe in the casino is never great there. It's just not very lively. So huge battles and huge uphill things. But I guess if you're a high roller and you want some comps, talk to the hosts over at Virgin.
Yeah, I think, whenever there's issues, that's the time to strike, kind of. We've talked about that in the past with eras of Vegas and when was the best time to go. And it usually, goes around where there's issues, either financial issues in the country or, the pandemic, stuff like that. It changes things a bit. And this is, they're struggling. So they're probably willing to give more than they would normally just to get people in the door. This is something they probably should have done like a year ago or shortly after launch. We saw it with Resorts World. We saw it with Fontainebleau. We saw it with Virgin. They thought being new was enough. And if they would have come out strong trying to get big players, good players, maybe it could have created a buzz that they're bringing their friends along, all that type of thing. And it kind of grows from there naturally. But yeah, they all thought just slapping a name up on the door was going to bring them in.
And I haven't heard anything on an update on the Mohegan to Virgin transition. So it's still Mohegan Sun as far as the casino goes. And they will transition at some point, but we don't know the latest on that. So always drama for such a little property. They, deliver a lot of drama. We got to give them that. They keep themselves in the news.
All news is good news, right? No bad news. It keeps your name out there, keeps people thinking about it. I'm sure there's some people that are interested to see what it looks like picketing out front that might go check out the property that would have never, thought about it before. So maybe it'll work out in their favor a bit. I don't know.
So let's reset a little bit. It's November. The holidays are coming. And Bellagio has finally finished their transition into the holiday display. All is right with the world.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it's crazy how quickly they got this. What was it, last week that we're showing it barren, and it just looked like an empty room and kind of, stark contrast. And now they come in, you see like Santa's sleigh you walk in through. You got the carousel in the middle. Everything's beautiful, well done as always. And now the grandmas and the moms can get drunk and roll around in the flowers, right?
Exactly what they've been waiting for. This looks pretty similar. I haven't seen any videos yet, so to see if they've added any cool new touches, but it looks pretty similar to previous years. One of the better displays. And as a reminder, there's displays all over the city. It's a great time to visit because it's not just Bellagio. Venetian has a great display. Wynn does a really great job. And then just everywhere around town, the trees in the casinos, the other decorations, everything from the lowest end casino to the highest end, they all do something. So, if you ever come around this time, plan some time to kind of do some holiday decoration watching. I don't know.
Yeah, it's worth walking around a bit. I mean, the weather's usually not the greatest, so you're not going to be outside as much. So you can kind of, take your time inside and enjoy the properties and everything they do and they put on there. And it's great to see. I mean, wish we had the trees out by the Bellagio so you could decorate those, or too soon.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show. Lots of fun discussion behind the channel, behind Vegas, all of that over there. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the information. And thanks to all of our patrons who support us over there. So a couple weeks ago, we got some peeks inside of the old Cleopatra's Barge. That's the Caspian's Lounge that they're building there. It's not just a lounge, it's a caviar bar with a speakeasy in the back. Did they put a wheel like with what kind of venues they could put in, and caviar bar and speakeasy kind of came together on the wheel? Because it's a strange combination, but we did get an opening date. It's going to open the last week of December, and some more looks inside, especially at the speakeasy part, which I don't think we had seen before. It looks very nice and modern. I still miss the Barge.
Yeah, I think we lost a little bit there, a little bit of uniqueness. This looks like every other high-end bar they do, at least like the back lower ceiling area. I think the front area by the stage looks really great. I think they did a good job there. You got a little bit more space, but it still doesn't feel as grandiose as it did when you walked by the Barge, at least from the pictures. Maybe in person it will give off a little bit more of that, but that was just such a eye-catching thing that you're like, oh, what is that? I gotta check that out sometime.
Caesars was clearly jealous that they didn't have a speakeasy and they needed one. I guess in this day and age where everybody has a speakeasy, they did need one, and so this does scratch that itch. But they're gonna have high-end caviar at the front, and then you'll be able to go to the back with a special password. So that's not new, but it looks good. I just think that people don't see the long-term stuff. You don't have Cleopatra's Barge every day. You don't have a venue like that with the history, and you have bars like this everywhere. So yeah, it's a loss for the Caesars bean counters. This one, they've had some wins lately, but not this one.
Yeah, I mean, we've jumped the shark a bit with speakeasies. Like, if everybody knows it's a speakeasy, it's not speakeasy. It's a fake one that everybody knows about. It's not hard to get into. There's no, secrecy of it, and that's the whole cool thing of speakeasies. So if you put it out there, like in the press release that there's a speakeasy, what fun is that? I don't know. Takes away from it, I think.
So one of the cool things about doing videos here, I've done Prim videos before, Prim for Trim. We like to talk about it. But it was part of Fallout New Vegas, which was a video game I think that came out in 2010. And so a whole generation of people that aren't old like us learned about this whole area through this video game. And it starts in Good Springs, Nevada at the Pioneer Saloon, which is that famous place we've talked about. Great burgers out there. And they just had the Fallout celebration, I guess. Thousands of Fallout fans dressed up in costumes, went out to the Good Springs Saloon. They had a whole event out there, and it looked really neat, bringing Fallout world to life.
Yeah, I love that they had like the sign from the game out there next to the pan. What's his name? The big guy with the gold mine pan that they moved out there.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I know there's a good history there. We covered it.
Yeah, it's cool, and a little town gets some love, and it's such a great game. It's such a really amazing franchise in the gaming world if you're a gamer. And then you had the Amazon Prime show that I thought did an excellent job bringing the game to life a bit. And I think that probably turned people onto it a bit more that might not have seen it in the past. But yeah, it's such a cool thing to do, and I think it would be a lot of fun.
Based on that picture from Prim that we talked about on the last show, it seems like it's slowly turning into Fallout out there as it's abandoned. I did hear rumors that in season 2 of the Fallout series on Amazon that you're going to have the new Vegas stuff, so Prim and other stuff. So maybe we will actually get that in the TV series. But yeah, I'd love to see this, and it's cool to see like a little quirky place in a little quirky town get such recognition and fan love.
Yeah, I'd already wanted to go there, and this makes me want to go there even more. I love these little like hole in the wall bars in the middle of nowhere. I was all excited when we drove through Nipton. It looked like they had a cool little bar there, but it wasn't open at that time. I think they had just purchased the town not too long before. Maybe it's open now, but I love that type of stuff, and this is right up that alley.
Right up your alley, too, is sports and crazy prices in arenas. And I think we have a new winner.
This is stupid.
UNLV football. Yeah, so there's this Bill Krakenberger. He posted this picture of a friend of his that was at a UNLV football game in a suite. So these are hospitality prices. The receipt speaks for itself. $300 for 6 slices of Pizza Rock, 100 and some odd dollars for chicken tenders, a 23% administrative charge, and $653.18 later, you have yourself some chicken tenders and pizza. This is about as ridiculous as anything I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if it's unlimited, and maybe that's the case. It doesn't seem like anybody said that that's the case. But if it was like unlimited for a group of like 20 people, let's say, not a huge deal. Like you can blow through quite a few pizzas in that time, some chicken tenders. But if this is just what we're seeing in the picture and that's all you got, even I think somebody said you get a cheese and a pepperoni pizza, so 12 slices of pizza for $300 is insane. Is it like dipped in gold? What the hell are we doing here? And then you look at the administration fee, which they even put like none of this goes to the server. This is not the tip. So then the server is expecting, 20% or so on top of that. Like this is just insane. And then it's a UNLV game, not even a Raiders game. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, I wonder if it is the stadium that's doing the pricing on this and not the school, because there's the deal that they have worked out for concessions. Not sure on that, but it's terrible. I mean, it's just one of those jaw-dropping things that, just when you think you got it worse. And it's crazy because we talk about bottle service prices and, you want to drink, you're going to pay. But if you're good and you're not drinking, you're just eating pizza and fingers, you're still paying like crazy prices. And I've done some suites at T-Mobile, and I remember like Shake Shack getting ordered in, and it wasn't more expensive than if you went to the snack bar there. So I don't know why this is the case. I can't imagine they're selling these pizzas for $150 each outside at Pizza Rock.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't just walk into the area, like the main concourse, and get some food at that point. Maybe they didn't check the prices or think about it. But hey, everybody go grab a slice of pizza. It's going to cost you $10. Everybody gets, their own slice. This is just insane. I don't know, man. I hope UNLV gets a big cut of this, because if they're charging these prices in the school should have the best NIL in the whole country based off of this.
I guess the old adage applies. If you have to ask how much something is, then you can't afford it.
Yep.
There you go.
True.
So let's close with this. A really cool view of Las Vegas in 1988 versus 2024. I think the 2024 visual is from Google Earth, but somebody put them side by side, and you can go straight down the strip, full minute and a half, and see every little part of what it looked like in 88, right before the mega resorts boomed. In fact, you can see Mirage under construction. But the scale of everything was so different. You had all the gas stations everywhere, so many parking lots along the strip. Man, it's changed so much.
Yeah, I think this is like my favorite video of the flashback era or the throwback, because they time it up perfectly with going through what it looks like now. So much different, especially the north end of the strip. Like it's just barren dirt, which is crazy now. And we talk about how it's that's kind of the boom area, and how they're filling in every nook and cranny when there was so much space. And 1988 to us doesn't feel like all that long ago. Getting close to 40 years, that is a long time. Makes us feel old, but that's a lot of change, probably more than anywhere else in the U.S. I can think. The stark contrast from one to the era to the next is crazy, and that's what makes Vegas so unique and so special.
Yeah, and you can see the difference in just the way that they scaled everything when they built. And you did have the north area of the strip that was the little hot center there with Riviera and Stardust. Even El Rancho was still open at that time, Circus Circus. And so you had that little cluster of stuff there, but just big gaps in between everything and stuff not built out onto the street. You can see passing by Desert Inn, and then just thinking about what Wynn looks like today, the scale of that property, Sands versus Venetian, Dunes versus Bellagio. I mean, you can really see how these smaller properties that started as basically motels grew way beyond their bones and then had to be taken out. And one by one, they just filled in all of that space. The experience changed. From a pedestrian perspective, there's a lot more to see and do these days than there was back then.
Yeah, and these videos always, give me a little bit more appreciation for Flamingo, because it's not really talked about as kicking all this stuff off. But you see these videos and you saw the Mirage getting built. That's like massive. But Flamingo is still so much bigger than most everything else around it. It's kind of crazy to think that was at one point like the premier big time resort. It's so overlooked now and thought of as like, hey, when are they going to tear this down? But it was kind of like the OG of it all.
Yeah, most of the buildings were built in the 70s. There's not a part of the Flamingo. So at that point, it's still relatively new. And it's the Flamingo Hilton, I believe, in the late 80s. I know when I grew up coming here, it was the Flamingo Hilton, and you had, of course, the Las Vegas Hilton. So much is different. I mean, when you really look at this from a big, wide perspective, there's just so little that is the same in these, almost 40 years. And I'm glad I got to visit that strip quite often. I do like this one too. So it's just so different and so much more crowded though. That I don't miss. I mean, it wasn't like so crowded back then.
Even since they did City Center and everything, it just kind of upped the crowdedness on the strip and the craziness. But you look at this, Mirage is just getting built and now it's getting redone, closed for a couple years. Kind of crazy. Like, is that the future of the next round? The 90s brought a lot of new buildings and a lot of new openings. So are those the next ones to get closed down, refurbished, all that type of stuff? Like, are we going to just see one after the other domino fall here?
The Excalibur will live forever, Mark. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Dirty Castle, baby.
Castle shall never become clean. Never, ever, ever. So
the pyramid could use some love. It looks like it's falling apart inside.
So let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. F1, the bridges being blocked, lower demand, the Elvis flash mob, Vegas in 1988 versus 2024. Leave a comment. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.